The Diecast International Builders have invited the community to join them in a Jeep build this month. For my build, I chose this Matchbox Hot Rod in this god-awful pink and lime green and yellow combination. Don't worry, it's not going to stay those colors. This thing's beat to hell. It's not, I shouldn't say that. It's not in terrible shape other than the fact that the windshield's broken. The top half of it is basically gone, which interestingly enough, I probably have a handful of these Jeeps, and all of them but one have the top half of the windshield broken off. It's obviously a weak spot on these. So I drilled it apart. There's two posts at the back. The front end hooks in. This has a plastic engine post that you saw me drill out there and saw the engine go flying off. Yeah, there's actually a couple varieties of how they held these in place. Because I took apart another one as I was doing this one to take a look at it as well. Fairly typical suspension on a lot of Matchbox, that plastic centerpiece that the axles then clip into. You saw me toss that off to the side. I ended up keeping that. There you see the windshield difference. And there you see the one I have that actually still has the full windshield, fortunately. I took it apart, and originally I was thinking I was just going to steal the windshield off of it and put it on the other one. But I ended up changing my mind on that. I'm almost thinking I might restore this US mail version. But there you see how it has these little hooks that hold it in place. So it's just a matter of sliding it so those hooks no longer hold. You slide it to one side and it comes right out. So now I have a perfect windshield, which led me to try and make another one. And there you see me holding it up to, that's that pink casting at this point that's been stripped. I just wanted to make sure it was the same. And it is. It's an identical piece on both of them, so I know I can cheat and use that. There you see me using the molding clay again. That Oyumaru that you've seen me use before, I made a casting of the perfect windshield. And at first I was thinking I was just going to dump resin into it, create an all new one. And then it dawned on me to pop the broken piece into that mold and just use the resin to create what I needed to add to it. That way I'm not throwing the metal base away. And that metal base of the windshield has a lot of detail on it. And you'll see later I take advantage of that detail. But there you see me, I'm using the resin pen. I turn the UV light on first. That way I don't have to fumble around. I just flip this pen back and forth as I want to cure it. But I just create the piece I need. And in my mind, I was thinking it would be a perfect fit. And oddly enough, it was. I am learning more and more about doing these things with the resin pen and how I need to approach them, both in doing the resin portion that you see here. And actually, when I do the original casting, I think I want to sink it deeper into the clay, which will give me more excess to work with that I can then sand down. And that's part of the problem on the end result on this, as you're going to see. I'm happy with the results, but they definitely could have been better. So at this point, I'm just popping, first I'm going to get that bottom part of the windshield off of there. The original good metal piece I want to get out of there. And there you see that coming out. Now it's just the add-on, the piece that's missing, the piece that's broken off that I'm going to be replacing. And there you see it. Naturally, it's crazy fragile and a little sticky. I needed to cure it a little bit more. Once I cured it, and there you see it, I sanded down a little and I cleaned it up a little. And I'll speed this up in a second, but just to give you an idea, what I ended up doing is I sand off the excess And naturally, the front half that's in the mold turns out really well, but it's the back half that ends up kind of shabby because I didn't put enough resin. And so even if I wanted to file it down and sand it down, there wasn't enough to work with. It wasn't smooth enough, and there wasn't enough to work with. But the shape and everything in the windshield, I'm thrilled with. And I'm definitely going to do this more. For thicker pieces, this would have worked a lot better. Again, this is just a very delicate piece. So it adds to the fact that this is difficult to do. I couldn't just sand away on it, just flailing at it. But I'm thrilled with this part. See, how it fits. Putting in the original broken piece really worked out better than trying to basically casting the full correct piece and then cutting a chunk off of it to get it to fit the broken piece. This is actually cast to fit. So for me, this is a pretty good approach. I'd be curious if others have tried this the same way and what their results were and if they found any problems with doing this. But the way I'm kind of seeing it, I think this is a good way to go. And I'm loving being able to easily recreate pieces like this. I know there is a Thingiverse, or at least there's a 3D file out there that you can print, but I don't know that it has some of the detail, like the little dip in the top of the windshield and that kind of thing. But it is a corrective piece, and you could do this the same way with that. But again, you'd have to cut that to fit whatever was broken off, where this is pretty much molded to the precise size it needed to be. And again, I just CA glue it in place there, as you saw me do. Once it's in there, I did file it a little bit more, filed the windows a little bit more. This is still early in the learning curve for me on doing these kinds of things. So the casting itself, and this is actually before what you saw there. This is out of sequence because you see the broken windshield here. But I wanted the flow to kind of make sense, so I moved this chunk of the video here. I do end up cleaning the casting quite a bit. There were some rough areas. The casting itself, other than the broken windshield, wasn't really that bad. There's some areas that need to be cleaned up, and it's a Jeep. Well, more specifically, it's an old Jeep. So this thing's not going to be, I don't know, Ferrari smooth. It's going to have a little, roughness to the fit and finish, but it did clean up pretty well. It's not bad. So I don't know why I spent so much time filing this back section here. There's a couple jerry cans that cover this, so you don't even see this work when it's done, or you see very little of it. But what the heck, it's part of the process that we do, and I was having fun doing it. There's something really relaxing about filing castings. There's something that is just peaceful, and you enjoy seeing the metal change before you. If that makes any sense. Or if this is just the babbling of an old man. Wouldn't be the first time it's the babbling of an old man. I had to shake off all the stuff there. The base. Oh, the base. Yeah, the front bumper has that bend to it. Oddly enough, several of my castings have that bend. So I do something with that. There's the paints I used. Put down the metal cast base coat, and I went with the colored chrome, the dark color. And I went over that with Worth lacquer. Black tie affair was used on the base. But there you see it was that nice dark color that I've had in other builds not all that long ago. And I just love the color of it. I added quite a bit of little detail here and there. Most of it was shot off camera, not intentionally. I paint the jerry cans kind of an off reddish kind of color. I found the exact color I wanted to use, which I don't know if you can see it that well from here, but let's just zoom in on it. Yeah, it's Zombicide. Abomination gore color. Yeah, these are Army Painter paints. Gotta love that. I did use real riders. These are from the Hot Wheels sets that you can buy from the Red Line Club. This, I believe, was from set 3, which is the off-road set. I could be mistaken on that, but I believe it's set 3 that's the off-road set. There's 4 different sets. I believe they're sold out on the first set already. It seems like the 4th set I like the best out of all. But this off-road set was really nice. And these are one of the ones I have left out of that set. I'm almost completely out of those. I just didn't like the color of these. So I do end up, there you see me getting them ready for paint. I do end up shooting these with that aluminum chrome paint. I do the same for the engine and the exhaust pipes on this. There you see them after they're done, and I just, pop the tires on there. And this just works really well. It's not, you're never really stuck with the colors they give you on any of this stuff. That's part of the idea of customizing. The engine, I ended up drilling a hole in the bottom of the engine. As you saw when I took it out, it's a plastic engine. There's a hole on the underside, and so I just drilled it out and put a screw into it to keep it in place. I didn't want to glue it. This seemed to be the best approach since there was a hole there already. I ended up throwing a washer over the screw. It's a 172 screw that I used on that. And that couldn't have worked out any better. It just, it's probably the best way to do it. And then I just popped the axles onto that original Matchbox holding piece. If you look at the top there, you see I bobbed the front bumper. I just bobbed the ends off of it, shortened that up. I figured it'd be stupid to try and straighten that. I wasn't chroming it. I wanted it black. And I thought, that gets it out of the way of those big tires anyway. So all in all, that bent front bumper didn't pose any problem at all. I do end up CA gluing that piece in place. There's the 2 posts that hold it. I did hit the interior section that you see there with, I believe it's dark gold gray, if I remember right. It's a tester's paint that I used on that. And nothing fancy, just a tester's enamel. And again, I believe it was dark gold gray. And I just wanted the offsetting color against that charcoal paint. I thought it would be good. It definitely wasn't going to be lime green or yellow or pink. Considered red. But quickly decided against it, which I believe was a good decision. Then just screw the base on. And again, the front end hooked by the front bumper, and then there's 2 super tiny little posts in the back. Since I had a full windshield now, or at least the frame of a front windshield, I thought, and also because it didn't turn out perfectly, I thought, let's throw some microcrystal clear on here to actually put glass in this. And one of the benefits from doing this is it also, how's that saying go? It hides a multitude of flaws. Putting the glass in there helps compensate for some of the problems with the edges of the glass. It kind of evens it out. And so with the microcrystal clear, I love this stuff. I've done a short video about it. You've seen me use it in other builds. But it's just a matter of going around the edges, getting them wet with the stuff, and then pulling it across the opening. And again, it takes a little practice, but the best thing I found is to just lay that toothpick flat the direction you're going across the opening, and then just pulling it across. And as you see here, it may take a few tries to get it right. It may take a few tries to convince it to do what you want it to do. I think it's more it takes a few tries to get the amount there that you need. And you don't want to go super heavy. You don't want to go way too heavy out of the gate. You want to use it sparingly because you don't want excess dribbling around this thing. And that, again, is part of the reason why I wet the edges with it, too, at first. It's to get them ready for it so that they'll grab if there's enough of the microcrystal clear to go. And with a little practice, you can get this down pretty quick. And there you saw how easily the second one went after it took a few shots on the first one, because I don't do it all the time. I think like anything, the more you do it, the easier it gets. So it is interesting stuff to use. And then I set it this way so that it's flat, so that it'll dry as evenly as possible. If there is slightly more than needs to be there, it's not pooling up at the bottom. Since I had hit the front indicator lights and the back turn signal lights or brake lights with chrome already, I hit those in this case with the Tamiya Clear Orange on the front, and I hit it here in a second on the back for the brake lights with the Tamiya Clear Red. I did goofy stuff on this too. It's like I painted the shovels. You'll see that. The gauges on the dash, I painted them with white gel pen. Let that set a little bit, and then went over them with a toothpick to pull the black markings out from behind the white paint. And while it's not brilliant, it's not like it stands out all that much. If you look, you see the detail on the gauges, which is why I didn't just want to replace the whole front piece or find some kind of substitute. That little chunk of metal has a lot of detail in it, which is, one of the nice things about Matchbox castings a lot of times. So there you see it. I'm pretty happy with the results. And so I'm really glad I went with the gray interior. It does roll. Eesh, there you see where we started. Oh, man. Yeah, that's rough. That's really rough. Anyhow, thanks to the Diecast International Builders for hosting this event. It was fun finally doing one of these Jeeps. I've had this kind of in the back of my mind for a while. Here's how it ended up. Be sure and check out all of the other builds in the Invitational. They will be doing a recap as well as they usually do for their builds. And that would be, if I remember correctly, on the Somo Diecast YouTube channel. So be sure and go there to check out Ron's builds and all of the other builders in the Diecast International Builders and everyone who participates in the Invitational. I'll let you watch this spin here a couple more times. There's some glamour shots coming up. I hope you like this as much as I do. I ended up doing this build. I wasn't sure I was going to make the deadline. And so this was kind of a rush build. And I'm pretty darn happy with the results. And I'm really happy that now it has a windshield. Anyhow, thanks for watching these videos, everyone. Stay safe and healthy out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.